Hello, and welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Mariancho, your host. Today is Tuesday, June 16th, 7:11 p.m. That's a nice time. We're here to draft some best ball teams. We were off yesterday. I think you saw enough of me 2 days ago. So we're back, and better than ever, excited to be back. Let us begin. All right, we're here, and we're going to be joining some puppies today. Let's see, how many pit bulls do I still have? I still have 4. That's good to know. I'm going to save those for later when this contest is a little closer to being full, but I'm happy I have that. They dropped the Mastiff. Not planning to do that anytime soon, but who knows? Maybe if we win the lottery, we'll be willing to do that. But I might do some eliminators at some point. Not today, though. Today we're just entering the puppy. Pretty typical, but let's bring in the chat and then let's hop in real quick. We got Disbanded in here with the dot. Hello, sir. How you doing? No soups. Not tonight, not tomorrow, possibly not this year. Most likely never, but your soothing sounds is good evening. Good evening to you too. Welcome in, Scott. How we doing? And then, yo, Young Moolah in the house. What up? GAB for life. Shout out Young Moolah. His channel is over there on YouTube at GAB for life. Very fun streams over there. Good friend of the channel. Let's hop in. Give you a very quick countdown. The delay is about 5 seconds, so let's begin in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Vámonos, muchachos. Full lobby. Maybe it's all friends and family. Who the fuck knows? But maybe we're pulling up on someone that doesn't know what's about to hit them, doesn't understand how sharp this lobby is. We got, a few names I do not recognize, so that might be good for me. There's a lot of badgeless in here. What's interesting is Brew Crew is badgeless, and he knows his shit. Brew Crew knows what he's doing. So just because you're badgeless, don't mean you can't draft well. I am one of only 3 red badges. There's a couple black. I haven't seen a lobby like this in a minute, so I don't mind it. Not too bad. I imagine most of y'all are in the overflow, so good luck to Brew Crew. And otherwise, I don't see anybody that I know. If you are in here and you're interested in a team review or just want to let me know ahead of time, drop it in the chat below. But of course, the one person I know is watching is right next to me. Of course, Brett Nichols. Good luck to you too, sir. Good luck. We'll probably snipe each other. It's probably inevitable. But 17 soups would need to win a puppy to play in the Mastiff. I would take that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if I just won the flock contest, maybe that's the only other way. Well, nice little 10K prize. Otherwise, on one draft, I'm curious to double check what the advance rate is in that. Actually, I kind of want to know. Let me look at that separately before I bring it in. The Mastiff, okay, it is still a 4 of 12 advance in the beginning. 4 out of 12 people. Those are one of the best odds you can get. I do think you get your money back if that happens. All right, let me get back to our draft, though. Taylor goes, so at pick 6, fuck it. Don't take him very much. I'm definitely underweight, and I probably don't want to have as little as I do. So I don't think JSN's a terrible pick in the first. I think he's a good pick, not a great pick. At 5th overall, I'm not convinced he's going to pay off. I actually have Amon-Ra ranked above him, but if I drafted Amon-Ra every chance I could, I would probably have like 30%. So I'm not going to do that today. I will catch up a little bit on JSN. And like I said, I think he is a good first-round pick. Not my favorite one, but with pick 19 at our next selection, at worst, we're getting like Brock Bowers, Drake London, or A.J. Brown. I think I'm confident enough to project a running back still on the board for me. At pick 19, though, I expect at least one. More than likely. But who knows, maybe my math is off. Maybe it just is one shy. But typically, Derrick Henry's still there. What's up, your soothing sound? Blinker time. You know, I actually don't have this bowl packed. I actually am not quite ready to hit it. But Young Moolah got a membership. Thanks for whoever gifted me. Yeah, if you're a member, you get a team review for free. Anytime you're drafting with us, you do get my opinion. Otherwise, if we have time, especially if it's your first time drafting with me, I'll make sure to give you a review. But otherwise, the only way to lock that in is by getting the membership down below. So if you're interested, it's only $5 a month, last I recall. Wow. Allen goes at 13, and I've seen him at 36, 37, even get passed on at pick like 41. I've also taken Allen, so interesting. Interesting. So we're going to get a running back for sure. But what's up, Breaking Best Ball? How we doing? How we doing? Montano Meta. Yeah, we're back at it tonight. We took one day off after the 10-hour stream, and we'll be back tomorrow as well. Speaking of tomorrow, we got a special guest on the slate. We have the Fantasy Football Roundup joining the broadcast. I believe we're going to do a dual stream on both channels. We'll be live at the same time, if I am not mistaken, as long as I can figure that out. That is the plan. We got Ryan on the show tomorrow, so very excited for that. That'll be dope. And here we are, back on the clock, and Chase Brown's still available. So I guess my math was incorrect. Maybe pick 18 would have been the cutoff point had Allen and Drake London not gotten taken. But that's what happened in this lobby. Brew Crew goes Amon-Ra and London, going the double wideout. Not terrible, but I'm of the belief that round 2 running backs are the best picks in that round. Maybe Bauer's going to crush everyone, but if you don't get Gibbs or Bijan, I'm starting to believe that wide receiver in round 1 is actually the most valuable. I kind of feel like maybe there should just be 6 wide receivers off the board straight. However, the way you play round 2 is kind of difficult. If you're sitting at pick 4, pick 3, pick 5, even pick 6 in that scenario, and no running back makes it back to you. So we're balanced today, and I'm starting to think that wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back is kind of the way to go. I love the 3rd round for receiver a little bit more than running back. I kind of feel like there's running backs that can make it back to you in the 4th or even 5th that aren't drastically different than 3rd round running backs. Like I think Jeremiah Love, who just got taken, is drastically overpriced. Same with Breece Hall. Not excited with them at the top of the 3rd round. They're talented. They can spike, but will they be consistent? I do not believe so. That Mastiff, yeah, indeed, 4 out of 12. You know what? I'm reminded just mentally right now, I have not played the music. Let's bring in the music. I think this is a soundtrack drafting type of night. Soup says, I don't know, even if I won a flock contest, spending 10% on one draft would be crazy for me. That is fair, but the odds of, if you advance, actually winning the Mastiff are kind of higher than any other tournament, in all honesty. So if you just wanted to respin that, that'd be an interesting contest to choose. But back on the clock, man, some of these receivers kind of scare me, but I'm going to go Neighbors. Fuck it. I'm willing to believe that Neighbors is healthy when it matters most, and I don't think he'll be making it back at 43. I've seen him fall to the 4th, but there was a time when I was kind of convinced he could have been the next best receiver after Jefferson and Lamb come off the board. So not going to draft scared today. There's a lot of people that aren't watching, so who knows, maybe some of my favorite picks make it back to me, and we build it out where we can tolerate the risk. We also have JSN, so an elite duo receiver. If Neighbors is even back by like week 4, week 5, this price is worth it, in my opinion. Goober says, another Amon-Ra Bowl. Love to see it. Yeah, Amon-Ra is one of the safest picks in round 1, and personally, he's my wide receiver 3. I have Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra, and then I actually have Jefferson over JSN. That's actually how I rank it. And then my RB3 is actually Christian McCaffrey. But sometimes I still don't take him because of the injury risk. What's up, Best Ball Cabal? Cheers to you. Soup says, I have a lot of JSN in the Superflex contest. Right, he goes in the second there, and that's definitely a little more exciting, but don't think I've seen that yet. Not sure, but you're going triple wideout, Brett. New strategy. If I had to guess, you're going to snipe me on who I'm hoping for, but who knows? Maybe not. Goober says, ETN, his new favorite third-round pick. He's been one of my highest drafted players in round 3. I'd rather have him than Brees and Jeremiah, as well as Kyron and Javonte. I think he's the safest running back in round 3. But yeah, the boy I wanted, Cam Scattaboo, is off the board. So you know what? Maybe we lean into some risk today. Bucket. We took Neighbors with confidence. We're taking Josh Jacobs with confidence as well. Pick 43, worth the risk if he isn't suspended, which is kind of likely to happen. NFL sometimes glazes over these things, or they just take a year to actually affect the player. Sometimes nothing happens, and even if he's suspended 6 games, really, they got another player on the roster that's better than Jacobs? I'm not that convinced. So while I would love him in the 5th, he's not going to circle back, and we took Neighbors. We're leaning into some risk today. Fuck it. We ride with Jacobs. Soup says, I wish they did more of those Frenchie 6 contests. 11 out of 12 advance out of the first round. I actually didn't draft any teams in that contest, if you can believe it. I actually did not do that. I kind of regret it. Just a little bit. I was a little hesitant to hop in when it first dropped. I was doing some other stuff, and then next thing I knew, it was completely full. So I just missed out on the train. It is what it is. Worse things have happened. But if you finish 12th in that thing, damn, that's gotta suck. That's gotta be brutal if you finish last. Oh, you're getting screenshotted for sure. But unless you finish like top 5 in that tournament, it is not worth your time. But First Down Fantasies has drafted a 1 quarterback team, and it looks kind of sweet. In the Frenchie 6, I could definitely see that making sense. Travion circles back. Not bad. Yeah, I do have a soft spot for Mr. Travion Henderson. So we'll take him, pick 54. That sounds about right. And let me get this bowl packed. I think it's about time. So rounds 3, rounds 4, we lean into some risk, but high reward players as well. We are not drafting scared today. Especially for $5, it's an easier click to make, the smaller buy-ins. At the moment, I believe this is the lowest buy-in tournament you can draft in the NFL lobby. So if I'm going to take him on stream, it's going to be for $5. Neighbors and Jacobs, a little tricky. I kind of wanted to go Bucky there, just really lean into some risk, but team at 3 said, I'll take Bucky. And instead we get Travion at a nice 5-pick discount. Pretty sweet. Not upset with that at all. But Burrow goes at pick 59 to the team with T. Higgins. Mr. Goobs asking, do you draft better after smoking or just me? I think I draft pretty well sober. I think on the first hit, it elevates my drafting just because I get in the zone. It's what I'm more familiar with. However, if you were watching the 10-hour live stream, there is a point when maybe it starts to flip in the other direction. Maybe sometimes it does get to me, but typically not until I've smoke too much, and I'm usually good at pacing that. Usually, not every time, but typically. Speaking of which, after this pick, the bowl is packed. We will take a hit. So hope you're packing it yourself if you would like to join me. Or maybe you have a joint that's already rolled. Maybe you're already smoking. But let me see what's on the board here. I mean, if somehow Rome falls another 2 spots, that's an auto click. I could use a receiver. I could also grab one of these quarterbacks and backstack them. I'm expecting Brew Crew to snipe me on Rome. Odds are he's not going to make it. But who knows? Maybe Brew Crew feels differently about a Mr. Odunze. He's taking his time, thinking it over, using the entire clock. What is it? Brew Crew's not going to take and goes Parker Washington over Rome Odunze. I'll scoop that up. Fuck yeah, 9-pick fall on Rome Odunze. I'll take that all day. After Marvin Harrison, after Parker Washington. Sure, I'll do that. No question. Caleb already off the board, but he doesn't really fall to pick 78. The Loveland drafter would have had 2 cracks at it, assuming the Swift drafter even passed, and they might have taken him at 77. So I don't give a shit. I'm just taking best player available. Happy to get the discount with Rome Odunze. Interesting team so far. Very, very interesting team. You can make a bull/bear case for literally every pick. Other than like JSN, there's pretty high variance with everyone. But like I said, JSN, I still don't really have ranked at 6. Or just kind of taking him today to increase the exposure. Don't want to be completely out on someone going in the first round. Anyways, I teased it, almost forgot, but yeah, let's take a hit, shall we? Let's go. All right. Rome at 67 definitely deserves to be celebrated. I kind of want to make this pick and then go get some lemonade. I'm actually out of any beverage right now. Here's the thing. Herbert is on the thumbnail, so I'm going to be taking him today for sure. I don't expect QJ to circle back. Fuck it. I'm going to go Quentin Johnston first. I think Quentin Johnston might just be the best receiver among the names listed. And whether I get Herbert coming back, I don't expect the team with Ladd to pass twice, but I'm still fine with Quentin Johnston. And Jaden Reed went, wow, Tyson fell to 76. Holy shit. That's pretty sweet. But I'm not in love with some of the receivers here. Metcalf probably feels like he's the safest, but Sutton could definitely be mid. Very touchdown reliant. Could see that disappear this season if Waddle becomes the top target. Mekhi Lemon just went at pick 80, but I think he can fall even further. And then QJ's been rising. He was the next name off the ADP list at wideout. So he was not going to make it back, and I'll just take him here. I'm kind of pissed I didn't follow him all the way down the board. When the pre-draft dropped, I was drafting Quentin Johnston in the 7th quite often. At that time, Herbert was a 6th round pick, and then the market just like, for whatever reason, started to sour on him, on both of them. And then they both fell dramatically. Herbert never really fell into the 8th, not too often. He usually still available, like pick 83 for the most part. However, QJ at one point was like pick 110, 111. It was wild. I stopped taking him around pick 95 as he trickled through the 9th round. I was kind of like, well, if I just take him all the time, I'm going to wind up with 45, 50% QJ. So I was at like 28% when his ADP fell into the 9th, and I just decided, okay, I need to stop. And then he fell into the 10th. I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to take him again. And then he slowly but surely moved back up the board. Nothing but positive news. Nothing but good scenarios. And holy shit, the team with Ladd just passed So I'm not sure what's going to happen here. Maybe Brew Crew. Whoa. This would be funny. This would be... Nah, Brew Crew says nope, not today. That would have been really fun. But unfortunately, no. We do not get Herbert at pick 91. Good click, Brew Crew. You gave me Rome. You did not allow me to have Herbert. I thought maybe I could get him because you have T-Law, and they both have a week 7 bye. But you made the right choice. You definitely made the right choice. I'm shocked even the Hampton drafter said no. They took Mahomes over Herbert. That's ridiculous. Y'all, Herbert is the best pick on the board. I really believe that. I think he's going to be the MVP. I think he's going to be, at worst, worth pick 9. I don't see him busting. Last year he was a top 10 play. And the offensive upgrade from Greg Roman to Mike McDaniel is like hitting light speed in the Millennium Falcon. Like, shit's going to be so much better. The offense is going to be so much faster, so much more dynamic. Night and day, the Chargers offense is going to be insane compared to last season. So whether they bring back Keenan or not, I don't give a shit. Herbert is going to crush. He had less than 4,000 passing yards for the second straight season last year. And let me remind you real quick, I wanted to pull up his player profiler. He was the 106 in the 2020 draft at 6'6", 236. He's only 28 years old, runs a 4.68. You do not want to tackle him. He can run all over the field. Josh Downs makes it back. Let's do that. That's a pretty good pick. And then if we scroll down, if we go to his stats in his career, year 2, this was with Shane Steichen, one of the best play callers in the league, 5,014 passing yards. In his second year in the league, 5,000 passing yards in 17 games out of Justin Herbert. Another 38 passing touchdowns, 300 rushing yards. I don't think it's impossible to have a 2021 level stat line with Justin Herbert this year. I legitimately believe it is in the cards. Why, you ask? Because if we look at Tua, who is, let's be honest, probably not actually 6 feet tall, was drafted 1 pick above Justin Herbert in the same draft class, runs much slower, pretty immobile, and in his first year with Mike McDaniel, right here, threw for 4,600 yards and 29 passing touchdowns. You telling me we even just get like the bare minimum of what Tua threw for that year? 4,600 yards out of Herbert would be a big upgrade from last year, but it's also possible, like I said, we get that 5,000 yard season that has happened before. Maybe the receiving core just isn't quite good enough to get there, but I think death by 1,000 cuts, there are premier pass catchers at every position. Ladd McConkey leads the charge alongside Quentin Johnston. A good 1-2 punch that is actually underrated. Quentin Johnston has developed into a very good NFL receiver. They also have an elite pass-catching running back in Omarion Hampton. If he goes down, Kimani Vidal and Keaton Mitchell can fill his shoes, especially in the passing game. Kimani Vidal is not bad at all. They also have Orande Gadsden, who is going for 160 yards against the Colts last year. Definitely can crush. Can absolutely kill you down the field. They also added in David Njoku. Trey Harris can take a leap. And the Chargers are set to be one of the best offenses in the league. Kyler makes it back. I have him as the highest ranked quarterback. So I could maybe use a running back here. I'm not going to take one. I'm going to go Kyler Murray. And we have multiple rushing quarterbacks. Jackson Dart, Kyler Murray. Not bad at all. Just in case I time out, I'm going to queue up someone I don't normally take. I'm going to get some water, and I'll be right back. Sweet. Made it back in time. I don't know if I'm actually going to go with Kincaid, but I've actually been trying to take him a little bit more recently, and I keep getting sniped. So that's why I left him in the queue if I ended up being penalized by not being available. Ending up with Dalton Kincaid, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. In any given game, he can give you like 100 yards. So that's possible. Tyler Shuck is still on the board. That'd be kind of interesting. I don't like the running backs here. So I'm actually just going to take Isaiah Likely. Likely could definitely circle back in the next round, but watch me get sniped. And he definitely makes a little more sense with Jackson Dart. I'll do that. I'm also going to turn on the air conditioner because it's still hot as balls over here. Thank you for your patience, and let's check the chat. We got Goober Goobs have a bag of QJ in the 110s. Yeah, once he fell into the 10th round, it was like, holy shit. All day. Past pick 100, I was back in. I was like afraid of just being overwhelmingly exposed to QJ because, you know, an injury can still happen. You could still be devastated having a shit ton of QJ. Shit ton of any player. You know, there's always the injury risk that's live with everyone. But once it just kept getting out of hand, it was like, this is ridiculous. Unless he gets traded, there's no way he's not going to pay off this late. What are my thoughts on Keaton Mitchell as a Chargers fan? I'm happy he's there. I think having a prolific speed burner type of backup running back is pretty, you know, kind of a luxury, really nice addition to the roster. I'm not convinced that he will ever be valuable enough to warrant his ADP at the moment. I think the slappies went a little crazy with him. I don't want to blame anyone in particular, but if I had to guess, Davis Maddock may have something to do with it. Kincaid falls back, so I'm chill with that. A 10-pick fall, not bad. But if that is the case, no disrespect to Maddock, but as a Chiefs fan, maybe him rooting against the success of Marion Hampton may have something to do with that. I just think you want Hampton. I think even if Hampton goes down, Keaton Mitchell might not necessarily pay off this price, but it is so dependent on a Hampton injury. And that's just not how the Chargers are built. They drafted Hampton with a first-round pick with the intention of using him like a workhorse. He's capable of that. He's going to come off the field. He can't have 100% of the snaps. So Keaton Mitchell will get 6-8 touches a game, something like that. And then Kimani Vidal might get a couple receptions, couple targets or something. Maybe one of them has no value at all. One of them might not even get on the field, potentially. But you want Hampton, and then while Mitchell has some value, I think kind of best case scenario, assuming Hampton stays fully healthy, is you get like 3 or 4 house calls throughout the year, and like those are the only games where he enters your lineup for like 12 points. I don't really see him offering more than that. Maybe one game with like an 18-pointer, you know, just because there's like 100 yards, something like that. But typically 60 yards and a touchdown kind of going to be the best case scenario for Keaton Mitchell. And it's not going to happen more than 3 or 4 times. So I think he's overpriced. I don't take him too often, but I'm very committed to Omarion Hampton. I'm back on the clock. I'm going to go Daniel Jones here. I could go Darnold 10 picks past ADP. I actually have a lot more Daniel Jones than Darnold now that I think about it. So fuck it. I'll go Darnold instead of Daniel Jones. They both make sense. I have JSN and Josh Downs. So I'll stack up my wide receiver 1 instead of my wide receiver 5. That probably makes a little more sense. But here's the team so far, a 3-3-5-2. We started Jackson Dart, Kyler Murray, Sam Darnold. Really good spike week potential, out of rushing upside with Dart and Kyler. And then a true floor play with Darnold. Not the best click, but he will have a few games where he does go over like 25, maybe even 30 points. He's going to find himself into a couple shootouts here or there. Not that many, though. The team is led by defense, and without Kubiak, maybe the offense takes a step back. But without Kenneth Walker, without Charbonnet for a while, he probably has to throw the ball a little bit more. And he's actually a little bit more mobile than some people remember. He didn't do it at all last year, though, so it's not really something I'm counting on. But 9 picks past ADP, we'll take that falling value. A little bit more unique, potentially. But Chase Brown in the second, Josh Jacobs needs to hit. And then I'm also trusting that Travion Henderson was a good pick as well. So the running back room needs some help. I have a double week 11 bye before I hit my 4th. At this point, is not that encouraging. I might be drafting 6, possibly 7 running backs, honestly. There's a world where I've really fucked up, and running back looks like shit by the end of this lobby. But so far, I'm willing to tolerate the risk. Our receiver room looks great. JSN, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Quentin Johnston, Josh Downs. And I'm just going to lean into some risk today. Fuck it. We're going Zach Charbs. Definitely talented enough to pay off. Just a question of health and when he comes back. So I like the little clip of him doing the high knees in practice. Obviously, he's not running in pads at full speed. But it's only June 16th. And some of these players have returned much quicker than we anticipated. So even if he comes back when I think he does, that's around Thanksgiving, that means he's healthy for the fantasy playoffs. If he's 100% come December, you know, maybe his ramp-up period is actually starting around Halloween. Might be the end of the year when he's valuable, but, like, that's kind of my bet on Tank Bigsby. And I draft a shit ton of Tank Bigsby. So an all-or-nothing bet. Also, another Seattle Seahawk. He does catch passes. He's prolific. He's really talented. I've always liked him. And I'm starting to be less confident that he'll miss more than 12 games. So I want some Charbonnet. And he's not really falling much further. He'd feel better past pick 180. Not going to lie. Round 14 might be still a little too expensive, but I don't have much of him, so I'm willing to boost the exposure. And the best case scenario, I think it can work out. I could go Hawkinson with the stack. He falls a little bit here. Gets sniped, though. It was only a minor discount. Instead, I'm going to go Trey Harris. Sorry, Brew Crew, but not sure what backstack you have with Herbert, but it's not going to be Trey Harris, I'll tell you that. Brett Nichols says, I blame Davis for making me take him in this lobby. I imagine that's Keaton Mitchell. At 138, it's too expensive. At 138, I'm not taking him. When he was at least around cheaper, it made a little bit more sense, but really where I think he should go is around Tank Bigsby. But I think Bigsby should also go higher. I think they should go around the 13-14 turn. So you're telling me I have to spend round 12 capital on Keaton Mitchell. Meanwhile, Tank Bigsby goes in the 15th. I'll just wait. And whether I reach on Bigsby in the 14th or take him at ADP or later, I don't think it's worth it. I think it's a very similar bet, honestly. Keaton Mitchell versus Bigsby. You might get 1 or 2 extra random spikes just because of the nature of the Mike McDaniel backfield, but I just don't think you're going to be satisfied with Keaton Mitchell in your lineup enough to warrant this draft capital, barring a Hampton injury. You are betting more on a Hampton injury than anything else with Keaton at this price, because Kimani Vidal is not going to go away. Keaton Mitchell's not built to carry the rock 25 times and get another 5 receptions. That's just not the way it's meant to happen. He'll probably get like 14 carries and a couple targets if Hampton goes down. And then Kimani will get like 10, 11 touches, and like 6 of them will be, maybe not 6, like 4 or 5 of them will be targets out of the backfield. 4 targets for Kimani sounds a little more appropriate. Something like that. 6 carries for Kimani, 14 for Keaton Mitchell. That's 20 rush attempts. And then about 6 or 7 running back targets between the two of them every week. But their role is just not the same with Hampton on the field. I am back on the clock. I suppose I'm Jeremy Bernard here, but my running back room is kind of gross, and our boy Jonathan has talked me into Katron Allen, and I do believe he is the most valuable Commander running back to be drafting right now. Definitely makes a lot of sense. I don't believe in JCM. At cost, Rachaad White has risen to his ceiling for the most part. I don't think Rachaad can really pay off much better than where he's going. He's only getting paid like $2 million. So kind of feels like we're drafting Rachaad in a best case scenario type of value. JCM, I really don't like taking. So give me the guy I think can really deliver on the goal line. Last year, JCM completely lost the goal line job to Chris Rodriguez. He was given every opportunity, just never quite seized the job. And he's a 7th round pick. Katron's a 6th. Meanwhile, Katron is the highest leading rusher in the history of Penn State. Nick Singleton goes above him. Katron had more yards at Penn State than Singleton alongside him. Now, Singleton kind of got hurt, opened the door for Katron, but still, Katron outperformed him. Katron doesn't quite have that top end speed. He can get caught from behind more so than anything else, but has excellent burst vision, and in short yardage, I think he will steal the job. I don't think Rachaad White is good enough to manage all 3 downs, and JCM might have a more likely shot at a house call, but I also think he has a much higher chance of just losing the job. They also brought in Jerome Ford. JCM has a shit ton of competition. I don't believe that they believe in him. All right, so back end of the draft, might just take Dulcich. Because the targets are kind of easy to bet on. But I only have one more click. That might have been a bad call there to take tight end. But he did fall about 11 spots. Fuck it. We don't have the most consistent tight ends above him. So this is shaken out to be a... I don't want to take only 6 receivers with Neighbors. I don't think Trey Harris is a good enough 6th option to just stop there. Despite having JSN, Neighbors, Rome, QJ, Josh Downs, which feels pretty good, honestly. Trey Harris and QJ, if just one of these guys gets hurt and Neighbors isn't healthy for a while, I just might not piece together. Like if Rome goes down early, Neighbors isn't ready soon enough, I might just be screwed. So that's the only way it could burn me. I also have some risk at running back for sure. That's a shaky spot. So given how it's built, I've definitely taken on some risk. So I need to be drafting like I'm right. Let's say Katron steals the job pretty quickly. Let's say Sharbs is back by week 8, Halloween. Travion has gotten so much better in pass protection. He's more of a 18 touch per game type of guy than a 13 touch per game type of guy. Jacobs doesn't get suspended, and then Chase Brown just stays healthy. That's enough of an argument in terms of the best case scenarios, where I can argue I don't need number 6. Meanwhile, I think I just want number 7 at receiver. Feels safer. And a guy I really like, haven't taken much of recently, does stack up at quarterback. Fuck it. We roll with Torrey Horton. Some risk, but reward as well. This is a risky team, so let's continue to take on some risk. Horton might just be like the 5th receiving target. Like, think about it. There's JSN, who's not going anywhere. There's Rashid Shaheed, who signed a pretty solid contract. What, 18 mil? Something like that? Might not only be used on special teams, like some people think. Maybe Cooper Kupp stays healthy. You know, AJ Barner's going to be running the most routes. Unless Elijah Arroyo steals his job. But Torrey Horton, consistently injured. Haven't seen him healthy in quite some time. Wasn't even healthy enough to be active for the Super Bowl. Might get hurt again. Might not be valuable. But there's also some arguments against Cooper Kupp that make a lot of sense. He's getting much older. Could definitely come off the field. And who knows? Maybe Rashid Shaheed just doesn't keep him off the field. With the running back situation there, they probably throw the ball more and have a few more 3 wide receiver sets, if I had to guess. So Horton, very talented, definitely had good chemistry with Darnold last year. In the touchdown department, if JSN doesn't hit our lineup for whatever reason, maybe it's because Horton does. And especially if they both hit our lineup, then that makes Darnold that much more likely to have a spike week. So it'll factor in a little bit, but this team does carry some risk for sure. High injury risk with Jackson Dart and Kyler Murray historically. Both of these guys could be off the field by week 5, or at least miss about 5 games throughout the season. Darnold, a bit more of a floor play. This quarterback room is nice, but obviously not much of a floor. Running back, also pretty nice, but not much of a floor with Jacobs and Sharbs especially. Travion, also risky bet, but I'm here for it. Really elite upside if this pays off. And then wide receiver, we're calling our shot, also ignoring some injury potential. JSN, Neighbors, Rome at a big discount. That was clutch. And then QJ, we took above ADP. We almost got rewarded with Herbert in the next round, but Downs fell 8 spots at 102. That's a good pick. And then Trey Harris also passed ADP. Torrey Horton for the double stack. Then likely on this team, stacked up Kincaid at a 10-pick fall, and then Greg Dulcich also 11 picks past ADP. So interesting team, interesting values, and odd risk level. I don't usually lean into this much risk. I'm not always this bold with some of these stances, but I like the team. Based on my rankings, it's not the best it could be because JSN I still don't quite believe is worth pick 6, but I think it worked out well. I think the running back room just needs to be active and threading the needle. The market needs to be wrong on some of these running backs for me to hit, and at least on Katron, I know they are. I believe they are. Jacobs, I'm not convinced. Travion, I don't think should be falling, but I understand why he would. And then Charbonnet is just a huge gamble. So a very risky team. Not gonna lie, don't usually build it with this much injury risk. But before we take a look at Brew Crew's team, let me catch up with the chat. I've been a little slow to pay attention there. But Trias said I had 70% Keaton last year. I think he's an insane speed talent, deserves better than what Baltimore gave him. That said, I've been real measured this year in my exposure. Have far more Hampton. I think that is the wise decision because Keaton's also consistently gotten injured. And even if Hampton goes down, he's not going to be a workhorse. Goober says, don't see the contingent value with Keaton. Think Vidal takes over if Hampton gets injured. For the price, I'd rather go Vidal, but I do think Keaton has higher upside. So I understand why people believe in him, but I think for the most part, the people who are sleeping on Hampton are really driving this bus and really inflating the price, and they are going to be wrong when Hampton stays healthy. Triage says, I just got into a build like this, taking a falling Neighbors. It's tricky because you feel like you need to insulate with wide receivers early to cover Neighbors' injury, but then you end up light at running back. Took Sharbs as well. Interesting. Yeah. If I'm going to take Neighbors, I have to believe that he stays healthy. If it's in the 4th, then you can kind of tolerate a little bit more risk, but taking him in the 3rd, definitely just believing in the logic that he will be healthier than we think. Yo, what's up, Shit My Bread? How we doing on this Tuesday night? Good to see you. Brett says, I needed running back worth the gamble on this Lions super stack. We're going to take a look at Brew Crew's team right now. He went T-Law, Justin Herbert at pick 90. What a fucking steal. But could have taken Herbert at 79, and in theory, maybe gotten T-Law on the way back. That's not the most uncommon pairing. And then they both had the same bye week, so you wanted a third. You took Jared Goff. You have Cam Scattaboo. I wanted Scattaboo as well, so good click. You took Baishal Tootin after I took Travion. Good click. I would have definitely taken him next. Tyrone with Cam Scattaboo. There's a world where Tracy is terrible. I'm starting to be of the belief that Scattaboo is going to be fine, and Tracy needs to fall like 20 picks before I even consider him again. I would not be reaching on Tracy right now. I think the better news we get on Scattaboo, the less valuable Tracy is. And at the moment, it's too ambiguous and trending in the wrong direction for me to believe that Tracy is worth it. So I think you overspent on Tracy personally. I think you also overspent on Keaton, but he was past ADP. You also took Kamani Vidal, so you're making the big bet that Hampton does go down. And then you took Pacheco at 151, who is not a lock to actually be the number 2 in Detroit. So kind of a risky as fuck backfield here when Hampton stays healthy. 2 of these guys are not that valuable. And then at least you have one of the Giants, but yikes. I'm not that excited about this backfield. Not going to lie. You need some injury help for it to work out. Amon-Ra, Drake London, though, when you start off wide receiver, it can get difficult. You have Flowers, Parker Washington, Trey Tucker, and Tesla. Only 6 total. I do not think that is enough with 6. Obviously, you could just have the right guys, but I don't trust Tesla anywhere near enough. Tucker could have a big spike week, but yikes, not that consistent. And so if one of these guys goes down, you're kind of in bad shape. Week 13, Flowers and Tucker are also both on bye. You have 2 Lions. This is a risky build, let's be honest. But Laporta, Gunnar Helm, and David Njoku, a discount on Helm, and then the kind of only receiving stack you could get with Herbert here and Njoku. Yeah, the team is interesting. I think the expensive QB3 kind of costs you a little bit. Because at 114, who'd you pass on? You took Goff instead of like Wandale. I think Wandale could really help this roster. The running backs are kind of expensive. Yeah, these 3 running backs, I don't like to take running back in these 3 rounds. Unless I'm getting like Mason or C-Rod. Once they're off the board and Jones isn't available, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to hit the pause button on running back. It just doesn't feel worth it in terms of the return on investment. So that's just my honest take. I think taking running back in rounds 11, 12, and 13, especially rounds 12 and 13, yikes, not my favorite way to go. Good luck, Brett. Wishing you luck. Thank you for being a member, as always. But Triath says Vidal does the Jeff Wilson Jr. Yeah, it could be a big committee, but I don't want to speak that into existence. I believe Hampton will just stay healthy. But Anthony says, sup, bro? Messi got 3 goals. Nice little hat trick for Messi today. That's dope. Brett says, I saved you, Katron, and you stole Trey. I didn't ask you to. I didn't ask you. I didn't realize you saved him for me. You took Helm at a big discount. You didn't have to save him for me. You can just do what you want, man. I respect the snipe when it's the correct click. I believe Katron is the correct click. Once Tank Bigsby and Sean Tucker are off the board, I actually think Katron is the next best option. Nobody wants Kamara. Yeah, I'm pretty reluctant at this point in time. I just trust Travis Achan. Bobby Digital saying, pants down, Adam Riancho. Nice to see you, Bobby. Thanks for hopping in. Smashing that like says game tight. Thank you very much. Yes, there is another draft coming. We're doing another puppy for sure. I'm catching up with the chat, Christian. Nice to see you today. And once we're caught up, we will indeed draft the next puppy. But A-Rod, what do you think about pulling Chase Brown and Derrick Henry up to the 1-2 turn for that week 17 bring back? I don't mind it at all. I prefer to take Hampton Kenneth Walker because that's also a week 17 bring back. I think that game's going to be a little higher scoring, to be honest. I think the defenses are maybe not as bad as the Bengals, but with Jesse Minter as the coach of the Ravens, I think that defense could bounce back. I actually think the Thursday night matchup for the Ravens defense could pose a problem for like the true high-end spike week potential of Cincinnati. I'm not saying they're going to be bad, but I do think the Chiefs-Chargers game has a little bit higher ceiling. That's my personal take. So I don't mind it. I've done it before. I have taken Hampton Walker more often. Brett says Tracy is wide receiver 3 for the Giants. Good luck on that bet, but I don't know about that. Yo, what's good, Jiri? If anyone hasn't checked him out, Jiri, friend of the channel, awesome streamer, awesome YouTube channel, over at Jiri Football. Check him out. Give him a sub if you haven't done so yet. You can also catch him on several appearances on this channel. He's been a guest spot at least 3 or 4 times now. I think on Sunday, hour 9 of our 10-hour live stream, I believe was the 4th time he was on the channel. Something like that. We'll definitely have him back soon enough. Yo, what's good, Jiri? Nice to see you. Brett says it's because you took Trey Harris. Sorry. Yeah, you could have used Trey Harris for sure. Would have been nicer than Isaac Tesla, but I appreciate your take. I need different builds, though. That's fair. At this point, if you draft as much as Brett does, you're probably getting a little tired of some of the same builds. But Brett still doesn't have a badge. Interesting. Must have only joined in the last calendar year, because I see him all the time. Yeah, can't do this every single time. Couldn't have 3 week 6 buys and running back. That's also legit. Or week 7. You had Keaton week 7, Kimani week 7, Tootin week 7. Yeah, you got quite a bit of a landmine in week 7. There's also Parker Washington and then 2 quarterbacks. And Laporta. Oh, no, Laporta's week 6. Never mind. All right, we're drafting a puppy next. You might want to pull it up now. I'll give y'all a little countdown, just a little moment to get yourself situated. We're going to take a rip from the pipe, and then we will draft another puppy. The pipe's starting to get a little plugged. Might have to clean it out soon, but all right, a little countdown for you. We're hopping into the puppy in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. One spot. Again, I get a middle pick. It is so uncommon that I get a top 4 pick on the live stream. It just really never happens. Very, very rare. But yo, what's up, T-Fall? SP Dogs in at the 103. Halden, not sure if you're watching, or C New Burn at the 101 and 103. But Soups and TD Vulture right next to me, sandwiched between them. We got K33BY at the 7. Brad C. Dallas. Brew Crew in here again. He's next to Game Tight, another channel member. We also got Engage 8. I think Engage 8 might be watching. Might have drafted with them before. But then Jacob Sylvester at the 11. Good luck, everyone. Cheers to this lobby. Whether it's me or one of y'all, I hope whoever advances reaches the final. Anthony saying, have you ever taken Bowers and McBride? I have not. Not in the same draft. That is not what I want to do. At all. I just took JSN, so not going to do it here. If anything, we're going to get a little different. Actually, no. I'm just going to take Christian McCaffrey here. Here's the thing. You don't want to fade CMC. You don't want to be 0 CMC. And in the scenario where he's healthy, he's absolutely worth this pick. 100%. He had over 2,000 scrimmage yards last year. Not afraid of Jordan James or Kalen Black. The only reason you draft them is to bet against McCaffrey staying healthy. I am very worried about their schedule. I hate that they have 2 international games, but they also have not the worst travel schedule other than that, and maybe drafting scared and just not believing that CMC can remain healthy is probably what loses you $2 million potentially in BBM. So fuck it. CMC has been a true league winner at times. I'm not going to be afraid. At pick 5, we take who has overwhelmingly been worth the pick. Other than the years, he's gone down. Like that's just the bet we're making. CMC stays healthy. He's worth RB3. Fuck it. Let's go. Yo, what's up, Gunner? How we doing? GM. We're getting money. That's what that stands for on this channel. A-Rod, the dreaded 5 spot. I think I'm starting to just believe that pick 5 should be Christian McCaffrey. Because pulling up Genty is like the fun thing to do. It's the trendy thing to do, especially if you're fond of Kurt Rambis. Definitely kind of an addicting argument. It's fun. But I actually have Hampton ranked above Genty this year. I don't have either of them ranked above Christian McCaffrey, however. So I should just take him here. I should just put my money where my mouth is. My true 5th overall pick is actually CMC. And then we'll just see if he gets hurt. Yo, how we doing, Jamie? Bonjour to you as well. You're welcome, TD Vulture. Good luck. Jamie just got off his Dynasty podcast, so he's like, no worries, man. Keep on grinding. All right, we do not get a running back to fall back, so that's fine. You know, I'm okay with that. I'm actually comfortable with a Drake London selection here at pick 20. We get CMC Drake London. I don't think I have that combo too often, to be honest with you. And in all honesty, I think I don't have enough Drake London in the second round to. He kind of gets sniped when I'm interested in taking him, or I'm like already invested in a receiver. We might go anchor running back with CMC. We definitely might just do that. The market's really overspending at receiver. Perhaps that is the move today. Brett says we'll take Amon-Ra 100% of the time when he falls. He gets him at pick 9. That is a very, very nice pick. What's up, Danimal? In Tank, we trust. As long as it's Tank Bigsby, that is correct. In terms of Tank Dell, I'm not so sure. But in Tank Bigsby, we do indeed trust him quite a bit. Have you seen the recent news that Will Shipley is on the roster bubble? Have you noticed the brewing love for Tank Bigsby throughout the fantasy community? It is definitely the case. But I'm gonna go Travis. I have Travis ranked the highest at running back, ahead of Breece Hall, and I already took the risk on CMC. I'll take Travis over Breece for sure. They do have the same bye, but at running back, I'm much more willing to tolerate that combo. If anything, maybe some people will be afraid of it for that reason. I am not. But yo, what's up, Bayou? How we doing? If anyone hasn't, check out Bayou Bengal FN. Very fun live streams over there. Awesome energy and some fun clips as well. Friend of the channel. How we doing, Troy? Good to see you. If you haven't checked out Bayou Bengal, check it out. He's been on this channel and we've spoken in detail about the Saints. He is actually Olave over Travis. That's what he told me back when we discussed this. I asked him earlier today when I was in his chat. I asked him if he was still taking Olave over Travis. Given the recent blood clot news, it's at least more of a question mark. I know some people are pivoting towards Travis, but after thinking about it for a little bit, he did stick with Olave still. It seems like he's not going to panic yet. Maybe if it was August and we got a blood clot headline, maybe the tune might change, but it's still only June. I think it is reasonable not to overreact and just stick with your initial take. But I think Travis is one of the safest running back clicks. Maybe you could argue that Javonte is safer just because there's no backup at all. But especially if you told me that Kamara does not return, Travis would be absolutely worth this pick. But thank you, Mr. Acevedo. Good luck on everything you got going on over there. A-Rod, I feel like you have to be vigilant watching the board at 5, 6, and 7, especially when shit starts getting weird. I think in the early rounds, maybe not too much. Brew Crew goes Lamar. That's probably the more interesting pick. So far, nothing out of the ordinary has happened other than like me taking CMC. Like, honestly, that's kind of been the only weird pick. Everything else has been pretty normal, but would have taken Scadaboo there. I already have CMC and Travis, so not the end of the world. Not upset with that at all. I do have CMC, so I could just go with Mike Evans, get a little double Niner action. Yeah, let's do that. Why not? Let's build out a mega Niners build. And today we're just kind of not afraid of the injury risk in San Fran. Maybe with the conviction of a CMC at pick 5, we are not worried at all about the 2 international games on the Niners schedule. Week 1 in Australia, if there was ever a game to go halfway around the world, it's with 8 months of rest, 8, 7, 6 months, at least like 6.5 months, something like that. Coming back, though, that'll be tough. I believe they have like 3 straight home games, and then they go to like Vegas or something. Like, they have a very short road trip following that. And then their bye is in week 8. They only have like one other long trip. I believe they have like mostly home games before the bye. And then in like week 10 or 12, they go to Mexico City. And that could be brutal. The Mexico City game could fucking end the Niners' health. There's a world where they really don't play well at altitude. Loveland in the 5th. That sounds pretty good. I'll take that. ADP 46, we grab him at 53. And honestly, I think he could be just as valuable as Trey McBride this year. So let's do that. I don't take a shit ton of Loveland because structurally I just kind of like to wait on tight end. But he might be one of the best clicks in the 4th round, and I still don't take him there. I should still take him when he falls in the 5th. Very compelling click, if you ask me. But what's nice about this is we have been seeing Rome Odunze fall into the 6th round. If that happens in this lobby as well, then there won't be anyone incentivized to take Caleb Williams before I have a crack at him at 68. I think I have to take him 68. I would assume that Team 3, who has Luther Burden, will scoop him up. If not, the DeAndre Swift drafter also would have 2 cracks at it. So unless Rome and Caleb come off the board right here, I think Caleb will be available at 68. He usually is, but sometimes you don't get him. And on this team, I wouldn't mind the Caleb Williams selection, but Rome does go, so maybe Team 12 and Gauge 8 does scoop him up. No, he goes Tyson. Sweet. So I think I'll get Caleb, and I'm fine with that. No issue with a 1-2-2-1 that has a double Niners investment. Drake London, a very safe top 10 play at receiver. And then Travis Achan for the New Orleans Saints. Falcons bring back as well. That's not bad. But Caleb and Loveland would be pretty legit. So I'll queue him up. That's probably going to be my pick. I do not like the receivers that much. Parker Washington's all right, but I have more invested in Brian Thomas Jr. What's up, Jamie? Get money indeed. Bayou, his dude, 100% get that bag. And Young Moolah asking, you fully recovered from that Sunday marathon stream? What a day. Yeah, it wasn't as much the 10-hour stream why I took yesterday off. It's that I also had work early as fuck in the morning, and I barely got any sleep after that. I had to drive across town in LA. I kind of want to take Daniels here, but I didn't take Terry McLaurin. I have Loveland. I'm just going to stick with the star method. I took Caleb and Loveland here for a reason. Let's go Caleb Williams. Yeah, I would say I'm fully recovered, Young Moo. Thank you for asking. We are back to the regular schedule. But Bayou Bengals saying I am. This is in regards to Olave over Travis. But I do have good shares of ETN as well. I just think Olave could explode this year. That's very fair. The Kellen Moore wideout is a player I want. The receiver one in the Kellen Moore system is a very safe bet. Acevedo saying Olave very injury prone and Tyson could be injured most of the year. So Travis makes so much sense for targets. He is probably going to be competing for targets with Kamara. If Kamara is healthy, I don't think Kamara is going to disappear in that regard. However, they paid him a sizable contract. They did not bring him in free agency not to use him at a very big rate. I also think everything is kind of trending. Oh, wow. Mahomes at 76. That's kind of interesting. In terms of the running backs in this range, I actually think Pollard is the very compelling, very obvious pick, to be honest. I'm playing the Titans backfield right now pretty much just through Tony Pollard. I've stopped taking Nick Singleton. I've kind of lost some of the excitement. And then with him being there, I also don't trust Tyjae Spears right now. I think Pollard is just a good click. I think he's going to be locking in most of the volume and as close to a workhorse as possible, in my opinion. Last year, he had a lot of games with over 90 scrimmage yards. He was just missing the touchdown. So the O-line could be better, but the coaching significantly improved. And in the next round, I can definitely take a quarterback, maybe even push it. I'm thinking wide receiver in the next 2 rounds is pretty wise. But I've also built out the Niners stack with Purdy. So I know I'm a little behind at receiver. I want to get one soon. Let's just take a running back before we fall off. A solid RB3 on this roster with CMC, Travis, and Tony Pollard. I feel pretty safe with that. I think I can stop at 5, and I can develop good depth at other positions. I only have to draft 2 tight ends if I really want to with Loveland. So this could be a 2-6-8-2 build if I want. Potentially even a 2-5-9-2 if I really push receiver. But so far, the roster feels pretty strong in the starting lineup. We have our quarterback, Caleb Williams, paired up with Loveland. The onesies are taken care of. Our flex play right now is Pollard. I'm only missing the wide receiver 3, but that'll definitely be added to the roster very soon. Fun team so far. I'm here for it. A-Rod saying Jaden Blue is getting some love from Shoddy recently. I mean, last year they were laughing about him when asked. So any positive coach speak is a big heel turn from last year. I still trust that the contract they gave Javonte keeps Jaden Blue at arm's length. I'm definitely not moving Jaden Blue up the board just yet. I actually prefer Malik Davis at the moment still. But if you're telling me there's a chance, maybe I should start clicking him a little bit more. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to push Brock Purdy and take Ricky Pearsall. The plan is 100% to scoop up Brock Purdy, but I don't believe I will lock up Pearsall at 101 if I take Purdy right here. But by removing Pearsall from the equation, then now someone has to take him unstacked. And perhaps they still just trust Purdy enough to do it, but I'm willing to gamble. And even if I miss out, I have Caleb and Loveland. It's not the end of the world. I kind of need another receiver. So if the board wants to decide that I'm just not getting Brock Purdy, I am comfortable with my fate in that scenario. But by taking Pearsall, I think I drastically increase the odds of getting Brock Purdy. So I'm willing to take that chance. Jantara asking what part of the Australia game is missing a home game at Levi's South. What part of the Australia game is missing a home game at Levi? Huh? Oh, like SoFi is Levi's South? If it wasn't week 1, I would be terrified of all this travel. But because it's week 1, I'm willing to kind of give it a pass. It's the Mexico game where like you tack that on. It's like, really? They got to go to fucking Mexico City. Sometimes the stadium turf is terrible in Mexico City. We've seen some really bad fields. Maybe Mike Evans pulls up with a brutal hamstring in the Mexico City game. Don't want to speak that into existence, but it is possible. And my gamble does pay off. There is a really nice discount here on Chris Godwin, though. Shit. I kind of want to take him, in all honesty. I will. A full round discount on Godwin, who already might be one of the best clicks. Because I have every Niner, what if this lobby just says, fuck it, we're not taking Brock Purdy? I don't think I'm going to get him. But I was kind of already talking myself out of like the need for him. And now I just want to really push it. Now I want the screenshot. If we can get Purdy at 116, that'd be fucking lit. Jamie says, hey, wait, Roundup just went live. Thought you two were going to collab this week. Yes, tomorrow we will be live together. But Roundup's got a busy schedule. I got a busy schedule. We're going live solo tonight. Tomorrow, though, going to be lit with Fantasy Roundup. Excited for that. Definitely going to be a good time. But Young Moolah saying Singleton is the most talented running back in that room. We'll see if that translates into him getting a piece of the pie. I think he's more talented than Tyjae Spears. I'm not convinced at this stage of his career he is better than Tony Pollard. Do you remember how good Pollard has been at his like true ceiling? You, like, and I know maybe he's past his prime. He's getting a little bit older. I think he's 29 this year. Pollard is sneaky old when you really think about it. But there was also like a big portion of his career when he was behind Zeke and just not really getting that many touches. So other than one brutal injury, Pollard actually has kind of fresher legs than the average 29-year-old. But Brew Crew says not anymore. Purdy does get taken at 112, unfortunately. That's kind of a bummer. I was starting to believe I had a chance. Once I saw Shuck go off and Baker go off, I was like, damn, it might actually happen. But Brew Crew is not gonna let me have some fun. Not today. But I would imagine K33BY probably with only Jordan Love at this point. He takes an unstacked Matthew Stafford. I'm sure he probably would have gone Purdy. I didn't really believe it would happen, but it was worth the attempt. And damn, we get Jonathan Brooks instead. We're just getting the unique combos. If anything, these are just good prices. So I still have access to a Niners stack in reality. There's actually a chance that Purdy is injured when it matters most. He's been injured a lot. Maybe this is a Mac Jones team. In a non-Superflex Mac Jones team. Might be the move, but I may have taken too many Niners to pass on Purdy there when I took Godwin, but the team kind of needed wide receiver 4. Let's be honest. London, Evans, Pearsall, and Godwin. At least I have Caleb already. Willing to push it. Almost worked out. Almost fucking worked out. Purdy at 112. Needed him at 116. But Acevedo, thoughts on Ty Johnson at pick 18? Looks like this RB2 in Buffalo and could get a ton of garbage time work. I'm still Ray Davis over James Cook because if Cook goes down, I see Ray Davis getting the bulk of the work. I think that's the bet you want to make for true upside. But can Ty Johnson spike in a random game and just randomly offer you like 16 points because of the house call production? Abso-fucking-lutely. I do mix him in on occasion. Here I am, though, in this round. It's a little tricky at times, but a player I think is worth this pick is just Stephon Diggs. We'll go Stephon Diggs at 125. Some people think he's washed. He is kind of old, but Stayed very healthy last year coming off the ACL tear. And last 3 times he's been with a new team, he's actually crushed. His first year in Buffalo was elite. He was a top 3 wide receiver that year. His first year in Houston, until he got hurt, was actually pretty legit. He was actually pretty consistently producing high numbers that first year in Houston. Then he signs with the Patriots and has 1,000 yards receiving last year. Some legal trouble, but he was acquitted. He was not deemed guilty of strangulation. So this is a good pocket of the draft for tight end, but there's one remaining receiver I trust. It's Stephon Diggs, and I already have Colston Loveland. We have 4 running backs already. This team is coming out nicely. We're just betting big on Caleb Williams. But all the different Niners without Brock Purdy, who knows, could still be perfectly fine with that. Not upset. Anthony says, notice getting Bowers and McBride as a 2nd and 3rd round pick is really difficult. It's not that difficult. I think if you want it, you can usually get it. Your team, though, is going to have a very difficult uphill battle to recover. I don't want to build it out structurally that way, but sometimes people will let you have it. Sometimes Trey McBride falls deep into the 3rd. But yeah, why not just a Mac Jones and Kirk stack just to snipe you? But maybe you're going to stack with Kirk. There's also Stribling still on the board. I kind of thought that maybe somebody might go Purdy and then George Kittle at the 9-10 turn, but once I saw Purdy made it to round 10, I was like, oh wow, it might happen. Maybe, just maybe, but nope, not gonna let me do it. I think for the value, Brew, I think you made the right call, Brett. I think it was indeed too good of a pick, but yeah, not today. We don't get him at 116, unfortunately. Slayton says Evans has more ceiling with Mac Jones, so win-win. If that's what you believe, I think Purdy is still like the better fantasy option, but could you elaborate, Slayton? Why do you think that? Why do you think Mac Jones is better for Evans? If anything, the Niners on the road would be better since they would be away from the substation. Fair point. I have Pollard, so I suppose I could go Cam Ward here. He is my highest ranked receiver. And that's kind of the only stack I have. I'll go Cam Ward. There's a couple back stacks, but a Caleb Williams, Cam Ward, Mac Jones team might be in the cards. But yeah, Mexico 1,000 feet above sea level. Basically like playing in Denver, but even worse. I believe it's even higher altitude than Denver. Didn't love getting hurt in Mexico City game. Yeah. I don't know if it was Jordan. I think Jordan Love got hurt in Brazil. I'm pretty sure, but the last time there was supposed to be a game in Mexico City, it was going to be Chiefs versus Rams, and the conditions, the field conditions were just so terrible. I think there was like a Shakira concert the weekend prior, and that just like decimated the grass. They canceled the game and moved it to the Coliseum in LA. That was the Jared Goff Mahomes shootout, if you recall. Would not have happened if not for Mexico City having like the worst field conditions in history. So who knows? Maybe some weird shit happens. Maybe they're slipping and sliding all over the field. Maybe the Mexico City game just kills the Niners' health. But back on the clock, Gadsden is all right, but I think I'd rather have Chigokonkwo, less competition, kind of a easier path for playing time. I do not need a running back. I've got 4 very solid, good ones, and I think I have the starter in Carolina as well. Receiver with London anchoring everything. Still needs some depth, but I can totally just stop with Loveland and Chig. We'll take one more quarterback, but I could get away with only one more running back, and I think I'll go 8 receivers on this one. But Brett says, sorry, we'll stack with Kirk if y'all let me. I ain't going to let it happen. I'm letting you know now. I will go Christian Kirk round 17 and then Mac Jones round 18. I'm doubling down on this Niners bet here. Why the fuck not? So out of spite, I'll probably let you have him, honestly. It would feel kind of overkill to also have Kirk on this team in actuality. But Purdy has a lot of injury risk. Let's be honest. Purdy gets hurt every year. I don't think they're willing to let go of Mac Jones for that reason. A-Rod, curious why Brooks over Rachaad White. In the highest ceiling outcome for Brooks, he steals the job from Chuba Hubbard. In the highest ceiling outcome for Rachaad White, I still think he's in a committee with at least Katron Allen. There's also the scenario where it's a 3-man backfield with JCM on top of that, but I just don't see Rachaad ever getting like the true chance to be the clear RB1. And then I also got Jonathan Brooks well past ADP. Like right now, Brooks is going off the board like 106, 105, 104. I get him 116. That's a big enough discount just to scoop him up. It's less common these days. Meanwhile, Rachaad White is always going in round 10. While he might have been a little past ADP, not as many picks as Brooks. So Brooks has been moving up the board fast. If he goes into the 8th round, I might just stop taking him altogether. But right now he's a 9th rounder. I took him in the 10th. Rachaad White is always a 10th round pick. So that's the main reason. But I also just rank Brooks higher. I think his ceiling is higher. I think he's more valuable. Young Moolah, we'll take a look at this after this pick. But could go Stribling and just really, really hammer it. But that's not what my heart is telling me. My heart is telling me to just take Tank Bigsby and be done with five running backs. I think the steam on Bigsby, especially if Shipley does get cut, Shipley on the roster bubble, more mainstream names, more mainstream voices are starting to sing the praises of Bigsby as a good pick. And he feels really valuable at ADP at like 171. So he would have to fall a couple spots for me to take him at 173. I'm just officially taking him in the 14th round. I honestly rank him in the 13th round. So like, I still think I'm getting a value on Bigsby. He's my favorite click at running back by far. I've invested the most amount of money so far this year on Tank Bigsby. So much of it in the big board, the pre-draft contest. I was taking him like crazy in round 16, but in the 18 round contest, he's moved up to round 15. I still think he deserves to move up. I think him versus Keaton Mitchell is actually a very legit conversation. If you ask me, I think they're both 13th round picks. So round 14, I'll happily take him. Trey Harris, I have a shit ton of him as well. I could definitely... Stribling makes it back. Wow, okay. Kind of want to do it. Fuck it. You're going to have to take Christian Kirk, Brew Crew. It's what you're going to be stuck with. But I'm just trying to get every single Niners receiver point. How about that? Mac Jones is going to play 12 games for the Niners. That's the call I'm making. Mike McCulloch, Diggs is a great pick right now. He's going to go up multiple rounds no matter where he signs. Yeah, there's so many rumors of different locations, but they're all positive outcomes. There's really no scenario where I'm upset with drafting Stephon Diggs. Unless he gets hurt. You know, he is old. That could definitely happen. Maybe it's just the year where he just finally falls off. But at least until he rises, I'll continue to take him here in the 11th round. Best Ball Cabal, Mac Jones invented BTJ. Some are saying that. I don't know if I would go that far. I think BTJ announced himself in college with Jaden Daniels. But what's up, Batwheat? Nice to see you. But Purdy has never had an Evans before. I like the outcome of him as Purdy's Devontae Adams. over Max, Brian Thomas. Good to know, Juntara. I suppose that's a fair argument. I mean, Evans is not quite the same player, though, like that he once was. Like, historically, yes, maybe the Hall of Fame receiver has never been on the Niners, but prime Ayuk, prime Debo, that compared to what they're rolling with this year, I could see Purdy not be as effective just because there's a lot of injury risk. You know, there's some variables here. Lol Samo says Brooks might be good. White, we know what he is. Usable, but not anything special. Yeah. Rashad White is never going to be a workhorse. Brooks can be the workhorse. A true 3-down back in a best case scenario. Yes, best bulk of all. He did have something like that, but he was never able to really repeat. He's been a little underwhelming ever since then. I could go Gunnar Helm here, big discount, but at tight end, I'm not dying to do it. I'm going to be done at running back with CMC, Travis, Pollard, Brooks, and Bigsby. I'll go Caleb and Cam Ward. Wide receiver, we got Drake London, Mike Evans, Ricky Pearsall, Chris Godwin, Stephon Diggs, Dejon Stribling, and Jeremy Bernard. I have 7 of them already. Tight end, we're stopping with 2 with Loveland and Chig Okonkwo. And I've already told you what I'm going to do to close it out. If I can bait someone into sniping me on Mac Jones, that would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. But I'm letting you know right now, Brew Crew. You're going naked Purdy. Out of spite, I am giving you naked Brock Purdy. I am committing to the bit. Kirko Chains. Maybe not Kirko Chains, but the other Kirko Chains is on the team. I'll be the only one with a Mac Jones Mega Niners stack. That's probably going to be the case. I am dumb enough to do it. But what if that's actually what you need? What if Brock Purdy goes down again for like the entire season? While others may not be bold enough to take this stance, I am here for it. And if it takes down the contest, if I win the puppy with Mac Jones and the Niners Mega, you will come back to this video where I said I told you so. I am telling you right now. Apparently I'm not the only one. Brew Crew's done it before. I'm sure there's people who have done it in Superflex. Wouldn't be surprised at all. But the bet on Kyle Shanahan, probably worth it. And maybe Brew Crew just says, fuck you, Adam. I'm taking Mac Jones here. But like I said, if I can bait someone into sniping me on Mac Jones, it'd be hilarious. No, he goes Darnell Mooney. A sensible choice as wide receiver 7. Rather sensible. I think I have 3 Mac Jones teams, actually. Okay. Very fair. Tanj is so much more important than Kirk. Perhaps, but I kind of wish I had Kittle on this team. Here it is, Mac Jones. CMC, Mike Evans, Ricky Pearsall, Dejon Stribling, Christian Kirk, Mac Jones. The only one missing is George Kittle and Brock Purdy. Those are the only... But I do think for the Mega Niners build, having Chris Godwin is actually really, really valuable. Like, I probably wouldn't have gone crazy overboard with Stribling and Kirk if I had just gotten Purdy. I probably would have just stopped there and just been happy with it. Said I was satisfied, but That sneaky Bigsby bring back. Yeah. Almost forgot about that. But yeah, that's the Eagles bring back you need. Tank Bigsby will be the starter week 17. Let's go. Batwheat. What about Marshawn Lloyd this season? He went to go see John Mayer and may have helped his injury situation. If healthy, I think he can change some people's minds. There's at least a chance right now. It's not impossible. There's at least a minor chance that could happen. But you're telling me John Mayer and his elite guitar playing skills, the soothing sounds of John Mayer's guitar, have healed Marshawn Lloyd? That's kind of shocking. All right, so at pick 5, I got the 3582 build. Brett has 22% Mac in Superflex. Got a good fall on Rodgers, too. We'll definitely take a look at Brew Crew's team in this one. But Young Moolah, y'all know who's the original Mac Jones drafter. Got plenty pre-draft and a couple post. I think this is the first time I've taken him in the non-Superflex leagues. I think this is the first time. But all right, let's recap this 3582 out of pick 5. We have Caleb Williams, Cam Ward, and Mac Jones. Definitely not as common. The Mega Niners combo, kicking it off with CMC at pick 5. Travis Achan right at ADP in round 3. Tony Pollard in the 7th. I think he's the overwhelming best click at running back in round 7. I prefer him over Rico Dowdle. Jonathan Brooks at a nice 10-pick discount. Very nice. And then Tank Bigsby with the sneaky bring back. He will be the starter for the Eagles when it all matters most. Wide receiver, we have the top 10 play anchor with Drake London, Mike Evans paired up with Mac Jones, Ricky Pearsall for when Evans goes down. We also have Chris Godwin, 12 picks past ADP, really nice value. We almost got Brock Purdy. We pushed it and just didn't get rewarded. We still got Brooks, though, instead. Stephon Diggs, just to make sure we get enough targets to keep ourselves afloat. Maybe both of these Niners don't hit every single week. But in case one of them gets hurt and somebody else vaults into the lineup, we got Dejon Stribling at a nice 5-pick discount, just a little bit behind ADP. Jeremy Bernard, 8 spots behind ADP, a rookie I really believe in, really like. Hopefully Rodgers willing to trust him his first year in the league. And then Christian Kirk just for the bitter snipe, just to really commit to this mega Mac Jones investment. He is our 4th Niners receiver, 8th overall. And at least every single week, I'm getting one Niner in the lineup. You bet your ass I am. But tight end is elite with Colston Loveland at pick 53. Got to scoop that up at that price. And then Chigo Okonkwo just to fill out the roster. One of the best values at the position at the moment. So a fun team. Obviously might be overcommitted to the Niners. And without Brock Purdy, it's not as good as possible. But who knows? It might be unique enough to work out. And maybe Mac Jones starts more games than people think. So willing to mix it up. I'm not counting on him enough to be upset if he doesn't have more than like 2 starts, but I do believe he'll get on the field a few times. Mac, they didn't let him go for a reason. The only reason they made the playoffs last year is because of Mac Jones. Brock Purdy always misses time. Mac will get a few entries into our lineup, at least a chance. Maybe he won't deliver because Caleb outperforms him. Maybe the guy we just need is Caleb, but at least to take a quarterback 3 in round 18, the final round of the draft, you know, there's a lot of zeros people take there in the first place. But Batwheat, yeah, John Mayer's music, apparently the fountain of youth. Marshawn Lloyd needed it all along. Best ball Kamal, admittedly, I have Jones only in Superflex. That's a fair stance to take. Soups did a Kansas City super stack in the spot before you. We'll definitely check that out. Speaking of soups, Who Hames with the family soup. What's up, fam? How you doing? Double soups in a row. Best ball Cabal. If Jesus played best ball, he would pick Godwin. That tracks. That definitely checks out. What's up, Slayton? Diggs about to go to the Niners. That'd be kind of funny. Yeah, on this team, it would definitely make sense. Jaden Blue undrafted. That doesn't shock me. And then Francis, last question before the team reviews. If you were a quarterback needy team, would you trade for a Brock Purdy? Given the contract and the risk of... Not anymore. Probably not. I mean, he's probably like a top 12 quarterback at the worst. So if you're a quarterback needy team, you'll definitely take the upgrade. But for the cost, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. It cost you a couple first rounders probably. Quarterback can get expensive to trade for. Young Moolah in Dynasty? Hell no. Says Young Moolah. All right, let's take a look at some other teams in this lobby. We had Brew Crew in here again. He is a member, so definitely we'll check him out. He got the first team review of the last one. We're going to look at TD Vulture as well, Soups, and T-Fall. If anybody else was in here and would like a team review, let me know. I'll give it a peek. But Brew Crew, I think, is the only member, so we'll start with Brew Crew, and then I'll go to Soups right after that. All right. Brew Crew has Lamar. He did snipe me on Brock Purdy, but an amazing discount. A full 18 picks, if I'm not mistaken. No, 16 picks. 16 picks on Purdy. A very fair click. I was not shocked. He did not make it back. When I took Godwin at a discount, I knew what I was kind of risking. But Rodgers at 184, also pretty clutch. The 3-quarterback build with Lamar, got to be one of the best in the room. Kenneth Walker, Quinshon Judkins, Bucky Irving at pick 64. That's phenomenal. And then Rico Dowdle is the 4th. B-Rob is the 5th. And then Katron is the 6th. This running back room is phenomenal. Can absolutely tolerate the risk on Bucky. This might be one of the most complete running back rooms you could find, assuming Bucky is active enough. But Katron is one of my favorite clicks right now. You reached on him by 20 spots. I imagine you did not want me to snipe you. I imagine that played a factor in this decision. But Amon-Ra, Zay Flowers, Addison, that's perfectly fine. Pittman and Coker in the top 5. That's very good. Surratt is stacked up, and then Mooney in the last round. Very legit 7-receiver room. Perhaps a little tricky down the stretch, but I think trusting Amon-Ra Flowers is worth it. I love the Pittman-Rodgers combo. That's very nice. And then Andrews is stacked with Brenton Strange. Totally fine stopping at 2 there. Should have a lot of touchdowns between that duo. So very complete roster. Definitely no holes. Can't complain. I love the running back room. Quarterback feels super strong. Receiver, an injury to Amon-Ra could kill you, but historically he always stays healthy. Historically, this is not a bad bet to be making. Tight end, maybe not elite, but definitely good enough to get away with. Very good team, Brew Crew. No notes. But if you hadn't passed on Purdy, I'm pretty convinced that the team with only Jordan Love probably would have just taken him. So I don't think I was getting him regardless. It was the right click. By far, the right decision. Pretty crazy. He actually made it back into the 10th round. I had a glimmer of hope, but I knew it wasn't going to happen. Good click. I mentioned Soups getting a team review. He's got Patty Mahomes, Mendoza, and Geno on the team. This depth is pretty gross. You reached on Mahomes. Above Herbert. That's not the pick I'm making. I'm not taking Mahomes over Herbert. You have Rashee Rice, so the Herbert bring back is also a fair decision. You're not going to get QJ, though. If you want him stacked up, then you don't do it. So Mahomes, I suppose, makes sense, but rankings-wise, Herbert should go above Mahomes. And then these two, very, very risky. But at least Mendoza should be solid. Geno, however, I have no confidence in. Baishal Tootin, RB1. Ramondre Stevenson, Blake Corum, Jordan Mason, Ray Davis, Marshawn Lloyd. Not the best running back room, but absolutely has a path to work out. Puka Nacua, Rashee Rice, Garrett Wilson is the 3rd. Worthy, double stack, Jalen McMillan, Trey Tucker, and then Brandon Ayuk. Because why the fuck not? Really solid top 3, worth the risk And then if Ayuk really crushes, you are living. You also have Bowers and Travis Kelce, elite tight end room. Slightly risky depth at receiver, but super top heavy, very well constructed. Running back, not the most elite room I've seen, neither with quarterback, but I understand the argument. There is vision. I can see it work out, especially Mendoza stacked with Bowers and Tucker. Makes a lot more sense. Not bad. Not bad at all. We got TD Vulture in here with Drake May, Bo Nix for the little bring back, but only one of them can start. But if you build out the stacks, you get a pretty interesting game in Week 17 to bet on. But Brees Hall, Cam Scatterbo, both New York running backs. RJ Harvey at 91. That's worth clicking. Dylan Sampson, not my favorite, but I understand the handcuff appeal. And then Nick Singleton, I'm kind of out on at the moment. He's fine, but Coach Speak is hyping up Tajay, and I'm just playing it with Pollard. I think the Titans running back I want the most right now is just Tony Pollard. We got JSN on this team, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Romeo Dobbs, Omar Cooper, Malik Washington, and Pat Bryant. So the Bryant, Romeo Dobbs, A.J. Brown stack. You also have Dalton Kincaid, Hunter Henry stacked up, and then one of the best tight end threes imaginable, Juwan Johnson. Very valuable at tight end. So fun room there. Interesting room at wideout, has some correlation to it. Running back is tricky, but with Scatterbo at least it's exciting. Brees could be a terrible click though. That's my honest opinion. So good luck. The 2 quarterback build, I think with these two, you can definitely get away with it. They're good enough to work out. And then lastly, we mentioned T-Fall. He's been in many drafts before. We're going to review T-Fall before we go. Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, and Daniel Jones. Very fair. Not the most exciting depth options, but Daniel Jones was elite last year. Darnold can still spike, and then Goff can put up top 6, top 5 numbers any given week. But Bijan, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Warren, Aaron Jones, and Mike Washington, very fine, complete running back room. No issue with that. George Pickens, J-Mo, Parker Washington, Michael Wilson, Wandale, Debo, Judy, and Cup. Yikes. There is some bets being made here that could blow up in your face. The Parker Washington bet is not egregious, but also taking Michael Wilson, also taking Judy, also taking Cup. Not the most inspiring to me. And then there's kind of a high spike week variance with these two, but not the most consistency. At times they can disappear, especially J-Mo. A few times he gives you a bagel. But if Michael Wilson and Judy do work out, then you will be laughing to the bank. This would be a very deep receiver room if those two are correct. But there is some risk for sure. And then Trey McBride, TJ Hawkinson. Okay. I was wondering where the elite option was. The round 3 selection was Trey McBride. That's where it was. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes I just don't love the Trey McBride teams. I never take him, honestly. I really never take him. And if you had passed, then you probably would have scooped up the fall on Colston Loveland in the 5th. You ended up passing on Loveland twice. You took J-Mo and Swift, which is fair, but imagine Travis instead of Swift, or Rashee Rice instead of J-Mo, and then just Colston Loveland. I think Loveland in the 5th versus McBride in the 3rd. Way more compelling to take Loveland. All right, I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that's it. I don't have time for another one. It's only going to be a 2-draft stream tonight, so sorry, y'all, if you were hoping to draft in the 3rd one. But tomorrow we're going to go live for a very fun time with Fantasy Roundup. Hopefully we do 3 drafts at least. Not sure how long he has to join me, but I think typically he does 3 of them. So I think we can go for maybe 3 hours, and that's going to be pretty fun. Look out for that live with Fantasy Roundup tomorrow. But one brief reminder, drop a like on the way out if you can. Would really appreciate it. And if you're new, if you enjoyed what we were up to today and want to get in on the action, maybe draft with me next time, Promo code BLUNT on signup gets you $50 in bonus funds on Underdog, available for new customers. Terms apply. Some states it is not available, but for the most part, most states in the United States are eligible, and even some territories in Canada as well. Some of the provinces, I believe, are eligible. I know there's some Canadian live streamers. That's for sure. So, promo code BLUNT, $50 on sign up, plus a $1,000 deposit match bonus up to $1,000. Up to $1,000. 50% of your first deposit is matched. So, check that out. Very sweet deal. Not bad at all. Let's catch up with the chat before we go. But Francis saying, I'm curious what the Niners are going to do the next year. I smell a potential soft rebuild incoming. It's definitely on the horizon, but they're just kicking the can down the road as far as they can. Once Evans falls apart, that probably seals it. Him and Kittle. They're going to ride them into the sunset once they retire. The rebuild, I think, will kick in. But John Tara saying, I can't see them moving from the Purdy era. He has elite efficiency numbers, and there's just no reason to. Oh, they wouldn't move on just because somebody calls. He could just get hurt. That's why we took Mac Jones today. He could just get hurt. He consistently gets hurt. He's kind of undersized. That's why he almost went undrafted. I couldn't pass it up at the value. Huge on Shanny. It was the right click, Brett. I really don't blame you at all. And I don't think I was going to get him, even if you did pass. And honestly, your team looks great. Your team is fucking awesome. Oh, shit. I almost missed Game Titan here. Game Titan's also in this one. Yo, Game Titan, I think you're a member, last I checked. Pretty sure. You blended in. My bad. Definitely want to take out Game Titan's team right before I go. Young Willis has just blazed, just took a gummy bacon, some cinnamon toast crunch cookies. Cinnamon toast crunch cookies, interesting. I've never tried that before, but you're welcome, TD. As always, it's a pleasure to do this, especially the first time you're in the lobby with me. I'll happily take a look. But Stribling is probably the longest term X. Yeah, Stribling long term has some good value in Dynasty. This year, who knows? But maybe in Dynasty, he's one of the best clicks. But all right, we got Game Tights roster with T-Law and Baker. Can definitely get away with that. Not afraid of that combo. Genty and Hampton is my favorite start imaginable. Jadarian Price, Tyler Algier. Sean Tucker and Jordan James. Tucker might be more valuable than Algier, but they're both probably goal line backs. Price, a little scary, but in the 6th round at the 603 definitely makes a lot of sense. Good click, for sure. A very complete running back room. Not in love with the Algier selection, but worth mixing in every now and then. Wide receiver room has Lad McConkey, Emeka Egbuka, Brian Thomas Jr., Cortland Sutton, Jacoby Myers. So 3 really high spike week guys. Maybe some risk, but 2 good consistent players. You also have Travis Hunter double stacked with BTJ and T-Law. Ted Hurst with Egbuka and Baker, so the double Tampa Bay. You also have Calvin Ridley, not my favorite click, but at 207, final round, I suppose it's worth mixing in. I hope he gets traded. Oh, shit, my bad. Yo, the graphic was even hiding it. My bad, bro. But lastly, at tight end, we have Ferguson and Kate Otten. Otten for the stack. The tight end room is definitely the weakness. Not the most exciting or compelling, but receiver feels very solid, very complete. Maybe not the true number 1 option, but I think the bet on Egbuka and BTJ, they could be top 10, and we're not drafting them that way. They could be some of the steals of the draft. And running back feels great. Quarterback, a tiny bit thin in terms of depth, but two guys that are good enough, worth the risk. I like the team a lot. I like Game Tight's team. I like Brew Crew's team. I also like my team, but a reminder, my team might have some risk to it. The Niners mega with Mac Jones. Perhaps. Maybe not the move, but my team is fun. My team is very, very entertaining, and I think very complete, well built as well. Going to be interesting to see who advances. I think I can be top 4. I could see a world, though, where Brew Crew and Game Tight do advance ahead of me. I wouldn't be shocked. And then we also saw TD Vulture with a good roster. SP Dogs wasn't bad at all either. Interesting lobby. That's for sure. All right, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you all have a good one. It's 9 p.m. and time for me to go. I'll see you later. Peace out. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.